business. I have some people that are in the fitness business. I don't know if they're gonna make it. I have some cell phone store owners. You wouldn't believe, because of all of the different products and services that are available, everything that's out there right now, competition is at its height. And we have to figure out ways to make our businesses stand out different. And one of the things that I'm finding when I'm coaching business owners that are trying to get their business off the ground, or that are trying to increase their sales, is that they run into their own resistance. And this is something that I ran into also when I started my business. And I'm going to give everybody this is some very, very good advice. I know, and I promise you, we're going to get to dealing with customers, but this is some stuff that I want you to pay attention to, because if it was just about focusing on the customers and not focusing on ourselves as business owners, then I think that it would be easy for everyone to succeed. But their business owners are finding themselves where they just seem that they can't get over certain hurdles. And this is the stuff here that I've been able to utilize to build up 4 businesses. All of them are over the $1 million mark. And on all of the businesses, except for one, I make more than 50% to 60% profit. That means that money goes into my pocket. The one that makes the least amount is 30%, and that's my store that I have a partnership with my daughter, and that's 30% profit. But even with that storefront, we utilize what I'm about to share with you here on both sides, with us as business owners, and then what we did to make customers to lower their resistance to want to buy from us at that store. So now, one of the first things that I want to go over here on this side here with you is your resistance. And what I want you to start doing, and this is something that I started doing, especially even with my own sales team, because some of the times, especially if you have a huge staff, which I do, you can sometimes have some, I don't want to say bad reactions, but sometimes they can kind of, it's not peace in the workplace. Everybody's kind of just dealing with each other. But I can't remember the gentleman who gave me this advice here, but he said, oh yeah, I do know the gentleman. His name is Reverend Ike. I don't know if you see some of his videos, they're on YouTube. He's passed away now. But he said, you need to see others how you want yourself to be seen. This is very important, because what it'll do is when you start seeing people that's successful, start seeing them as healthy, even if they don't give you that back, it doesn't matter. It's just that what you're putting out there, because you will always get what you put out there back. So if you put negative out there, you're going to get negative back. If you work somewhere, or if you have your own office, if you walk in there and you have a negative attitude towards one individual, you have a negative attitude because the way you woke up in the morning, that's gonna just grow throughout your company. And so one of the things that I did when I had ran across that YouTube video, he had said, see other people how you want yourself to be seen. I see all of my sales reps. I see all of my customer service team. I see my employees with my other companies. No matter what their situation is, I always see them as successful. And I added in there healthy too, because it's not just about money. It's about, everybody having a healthy lifestyle. Even if they don't have a healthy lifestyle, I picture them and I picture myself with that. And it helps me throughout the day, because then I don't think, it gets into this next thing here, is don't think everything people say to you is something to hurt you. Now, if someone says something directly to you that, is trying to hurt you, you're still in charge of the way that you take it, but that's something that's intentional. But I see a lot of things that are said, especially because I have a lot of employees, is that people will say things, and they're not trying to hurt somebody. It's just the way that that individual took it. And the way that people take things is mainly going to be based on their upbringing, the way that they hear. Like you could say the same thing to two different people, and they're going to hear it a different way. And so what I do, rather than, and this has helped me throughout my life, is that I do not just jump to an opinion on something. I don't react right away to what people say. I always think, and a lot of times from just doing that process, I found, it was just another point of view, the way that that individual was thinking about it. And it helped me not, number one, not get into situations when I was a younger man, that I could have, got into fights or, one story that I can recall was this, one of my competition was doing things to hurt my business, my publishing business. They were actually throwing away the magazines. Now that's something directly to hurt our business. But if I was of the mindset of just reacting, anything could have happened. You just never know what could have happened. And now moving on, your perception is your reality. Now, I hear this a lot on YouTube where they're talking about, perception is reality, which that is the truth. But I hear a lot of people talking about faking. I'm not talking about faking, your reality. I'm not talking about faking perception. What I'm talking about is your internal perception of who you think you are. And pertaining to your capabilities based on your education level, your knowledge, your skill, and your skill to perform a task. To put this into perspective, if I'm going to share with you, I did not go to college. I went to one semester of college, of junior college. I was in the United States Army for 2 years, and I went from 18 to the age of 20 to the United States Army. And then I went to, before that though, I went to sorry about that there's people visiting my website, went to one semester of junior college, and then I dropped out, and then I went into the Army. And one of the things that I was always thinking about when I was trying to become successful, because I had tried a whole bunch of different things. I tried real estate before I was even 18 years old. I got trained by a Spanish guy about real estate. And when I look back at what was holding me back, because he taught me everything. I even utilized what he taught me to this day. I'm standing in a building right now, a bank that I purchased from U.S. Bank. And I'm sitting in this building, and I used the negotiation strategies that he taught me back then to negotiate on this building that I bought for a couple of $100,000, and they had it for sale for $650,000. At that time, though, my perception of myself was that I just could not do it because I didn't have the education. I didn't come from a family with money. I just something inside of me was holding me back from believing that I could do it. But when I got to a different level, all of a sudden I have this ability, I have the income, I have all of this stuff in my favor to be able to do it. But when I look back at that time, from what he taught me, I could have done deals back at that time when I was 17 years old. And the thing that held me back was that I thought, just because I didn't have the education, what I thought was the education that I had to have. I didn't have I did have the knowledge, but even getting the knowledge, and this is going to go into you also, even though you have the knowledge, for some reason we think because we don't have certain things that we see other people have with the knowledge that we can't do it. And that was what happened with me back then. So I had the knowledge, but now that I'm older, I'm more, have money, successful, all of that came together. But if I really look at what happened back then, I could have done the same thing and probably been a lot further ahead than I am right now, because it does not take, like we get stuck and we think that it takes all of this money, it takes a certain type of knowledge. You can make it on any type of knowledge. All you have to do is just get started. And then the skill to perform that task. To break that down, a skill to perform the task, some of the times when we get ready to perform the task, we think that we got to perform that task in a perfect way, or we won't get started on doing the task. We'll think of all of these different things that can go wrong that would make us not be able to perform that task. Because all of these things come to our mind on it has to be this way, it has to be performed that way. And that is a block that all of us got to get out if we're going to get, to be able to get to one level and then be able to move up to another level, is that it does not have to be perfect. And that you can learn to perform tasks, but even when you learn them, you can't let the doubt that can seep in about performing that task stop you. One way that I get through performing a task is that I learn how to do the task and then I just do it. And I don't worry about what's going to be the outcome on it. I just know if I learn to do it a certain way, I'm going to perform it and let whatever happens from it happen. And then from that feedback, I will make the adjustments. I don't want to spoil it from the beginning, and which will make people doubt, which will make people not even get started on performing that task. And then another thing here is money is available at all times. It's just, it may not flow to you. This is a very good message right here, because a lot of people live their life in this lack type environment, or mentality. You see the stock market, they're talking about people losing money. Some people don't know that the money is just being moved. It doesn't disappear. It's going to one side to another side. Right now, we see that they're feeding the people who have accounts where they earn revenue on, where they earn their income on interest. But you know that in a few years from now, they're going to flip that back around and start lowering the interest rates, and they're going to be feeding all of these mortgage companies and all of these mortgage reps. They're going to be doing refinancing like it's the end of the world, not the end of the world, but they're going to be doing a whole bunch of refinancing. So the money just shifts. And if you lead your life that way, where you just know that there's money available at all times, you got to just get yourself in the way to be able to get to it. You're going to be able to get yourself there. One example of that, in 1990, when my wife and I started our publication business, this is how you get yourself into the flow of where money is headed. At that time, it was mainly just daily papers. And then all of a sudden, the software started opening up, and the PC was more affordable, even though it was around $2,500 to $3,500 back then. But everything was available for people like myself to be able to open up and start free publications. And the tidal wave of money that was there was that small business owners could not afford to go in the daily papers, all of a sudden had a place that they could place their ads. So the small mom and pop, or some of these smaller outlets that couldn't afford the daily papers, all of a sudden they had a place for them to go to place their ads so they could get more customers. My wife and I put ourselves, without any education on typesetting, without any education on the publishing business, none of that. We did not know any of that. We just jumped in, and our first publication that we created was a disaster, because when we took it to the printer, we thought it was going to be better than it was when they gave, than it was that we gave to them, that when we got it back, it was going to look better. You couldn't even read none of the ads or anything on there. We didn't even know. So that was a lesson, but we didn't stop. But the thing about it is that we put ourselves in front of a tidal wave. I've lived off of that business. Now it's going on 33 years of money from that company that we started, from just being in front of that. Now it's changed over now because, you had the internet and all of that stuff is introduced. But look at your products and services that you have available, and look at where you can insert yourself for whatever that product or service is. How can you insert yourself in the position to be able to get money flowing to your business? Now, let's move over to Don't focus on potential failure. Don't focus on potential disappointments or disappointments in the past, embarrassment and letdowns, because especially if we would have focused on embarrassment, because our first publication was an embarrassment. Let me give you a quick example. When you go to the store, this might seem, elementary, but when you go to the store, you don't think about all of the bad things that could happen on the way to the store. You don't think about that you can have a flat tire. You don't think that you can get into a wreck. Maybe some people do, but I know I don't. When you go into business, for some reason, and this has happened with me too, is that when we start our businesses, we start have this little issue where we start to think about all of the bad things that can happen, or we just think that if we do something, we're not going to get that result that we want, and it holds a lot of people back. Well, what that is anticipation within. And it works both ways. You can have anticipation that's negative. You can have anticipation that's also positive. And moving over to where your customers are, this is where your customer sales come in. Is that no matter what you do, no matter what you say, there's a negative and there's a positive aspect to what you're selling your customers. And so you can't get away with it. But what I see a lot of people doing by mistake is that they're talking too much about their product or service rather than talking about the benefits of their product or service. Now, some of you may be thinking, well, I am talking about the benefits of my product or service. You might be talking about it in a way that describes your business. You're not putting them into the mindset of that this product, will it work, period. I know I spelled that wrong right there, but let's run down what could run into the mind of your customer. And this is how you can get to where you have low resistance selling. Your customers, when they come to your product or service, especially now, because with the internet out there, everybody thinks that everything's at their fingertips. Everybody thinks that they can go learn it and do it themselves. Everybody thinks that what someone else said about your product or service is true some of the times, but you can always get customers if you just understand what's the bottom line of your customer's problem. The bottom line is that they have their own internal resistance. Just like you have those resistance for your business, these are the resistance factors that they have within themselves. And I've seen this with all types of customers. So the first one here, will it work, period. When a customer evaluates what you had to offer, the first thing that among many things, but these are the things that run through their mind, excuse me, is will it work, period. So first, they're going to evaluate is what you're showing them, how you're demonstrating your product or your service. Could it even work? Like, is this even possible? Like, or is this just, like fake fraud? Like, it just looks like a scam. Like, where, like, I'll give you an example. There's a chair that I got to get from my other business because one of the young ladies, the billing department, she's got some size on her. She's a little bit about 300 pounds. And this company came to me and they said, well, we got this 12,000 series ergonomic executive chair. And I'm looking at it and they're saying this chair can hold up to 350 pounds. And I'm looking at this chair, this picture, and I'm like, I don't think that this chair can hold that. So when customers or potential customers, leads, go to look at your product or service, there could be like, look at your site, look at how you talk to people, and be upfront and honest with yourself and be like, if I said this to myself, would I believe it, even give it a chance? Like, will this work, period? I don't even believe, period, that this chair is going to hold her with her size. Like it's a no, from the get-go. I don't even got to get into the other stuff. Now the next level that they get in, that a customer or lead to get to, is, will it work for me? If you get them past will it work, period, then they start looking at, will it work for me? This is when they're digging in their mind and they're going back through accessing the mental files about everything that has either went wrong, why my situation is worse than someone else's situation. For my credit repair business, I had a young lady email us today, and it basically was just one sentence. I don't know if it'll work for me. My credit is too bad. Like, that was what she said. So that's right there proves that some people may not take a chance on anything because they're wondering, will it work for me? But you want people to be in that frame of mind, because if you get them to think about, will it work for me, then you can demonstrate to them how your product or service will work for them. And it's not to talk about yourself being the best and being the best and all of this stuff, and that we're BBB rated. I'm telling you, that stuff matters, but it doesn't matter when people start thinking on this level. And then we got why it won't work for me. These are answers that you have to figure out how to put into your sales pitch, and how you can put it in your website to counteract why it won't work for them. The reason why they might think it won't work for them is because of experiences that they had with other companies, because they maybe tried a product that looks too similar. The way that I share with my clients on how to solve this is, number one, you need to make your specific product or service sound different. I always use that McDonald's and that Burger King example. They both sell hamburgers. Yeah, they are a little different, but it's a hamburger. It's a hamburger. And they call theirs the Whopper, and they call theirs the Big Mac. You got to make your product or service sound different. You got to make it like it works different. You got to put some time into that. And if you can put that time into that, you're going to see that the first thing that people do is they're going to, number one, wipe out some of these questions automatically, because what you have already sounds different than what they've been exposed to. And you can simply do that by just making up a system name for your business, for your the way that you provide your service. Obviously, if you have a product, it's going to have a unique name. So those are different ways that you can do to kind of get people off of that mindset of it's the same thing, or will it work for me? Will it work for me could be answered in a way by, this is something new that you haven't tried before. And then obviously you're gonna have to go into some steps on demonstrating how you can make that work for someone. Now, when you're demonstrating for someone, you're not demonstrating your product or service. So if it's a product, you're demonstrating. But if it's a service, you're not demonstrating. And let me tell you why. It took me a while to really understand why service products did not do good if you did a demonstration. I thought it did, but it doesn't. Because we live in a do-it-yourself society, and there are some people that don't want to do it themselves, but you still have to be careful, because when you're selling someone something, you want them to think that it's their idea to sign up with you. You want them to be like, "What, man, this is exactly what I'm looking for." The way that you get them to start thinking that way is to have them focus on everything positive that they will get from utilizing your service. Remember, I said that there's a negative and there's a positive for everything that we sell to people. There's a negative and a positive. So you have to get them thinking about the positive. Now, I have in my hand right here an advertisement that came from Capital One Business. Now, they're on the envelope, it says earn up to $1,200 one-time cash bonus, earn $200 cash bonus for every year, and unlimited 2% cash back on every purchase. What did they not say on there? What did they not mention on here? They didn't mention nothing about payments, right? They didn't mention nothing. All they're doing is they're keeping me, the reader, in a positive state. So the first thing that they did is it's on the outside of the envelope. That's an advertisement to get me to open, and it's in a positive fashion. And then the vehicle that they utilize to get this opportunity is the card, but they're not selling the card. So that's a good example that you can kind of look at. Look at those advertisements in the mail. I've learned that if you look, those companies are spending really billions of dollars on marketing to people. And if you just look at how they're sending stuff to us, you will see that they're utilizing the same technique, is that they're keeping people with a positive mindset on the benefits of what they'll get from utilizing, on this example, the credit card. But you could do that with everything. You could do that with a car. You could do that like we have with my daughter's store. They have these card games. They have these cosplay uniforms that people buy, all of this different stuff from Yu-Gi-Oh! And I don't know if you've heard of that stuff before, but it's all about an experience. We don't sell for that store. We don't sell coming into the store and there's this big sale. No, we sell people an experience of utilizing the products that we sell in the store. And it makes a huge difference. One of the big differences is that they rarely have a sale. The only time they have a sale is if there's just an item that they took a chance on and it just didn't sell that good. But other stuff that they sell all the time, they never have sales or special on them, and people are willing to pay more, even though that there's Amazon and all of those places, Walmart, that we compete with. We sell the experience, and Walmart and Amazon can't sell the experience because they just want people to come into the store and get out of there. Now, another thing that you will hear from customers or leads is, I'm too busy, or that's too much. I'm not worthy. They don't say I'm not worthy when they'll usually express this by just saying that I'm thinking about it. And they say I don't have the money. So when you hear stuff like this, this is where you need to take self-responsibility. And remember what I had said about it right here. When we said, don't think, not to hurt you, even though it's not to hurt you, but technically we feel that way when someone don't buy from us, especially if they opted in on a form. We believe that they need our service, so why wouldn't you do it? And so don't take it that way. What I do is I just say, well, maybe I didn't explain it the right way. Maybe there's something that we're saying in our sales pitch is not being taken the right way. And also, we're not going to sell everybody. That's another thing. We're not going to sell everybody, but we do our best to not go into the negative and think that, oh, my product or service costs too much money, or people don't want to buy because they're saying that they're too busy, or they say that it's too much, or don't have the money. Like, I'm tired of hearing all that, and it makes people stop their business. If you can build anticipation with your potential customers, and the way that you do that is you keep them on the positive thinking side. I've actually tested this. Let me grab a sheet here. I did a test with my. I did a test, and I know that some of you have this on your websites, and I want to share this with you. This was a test that I did, and I've always kind of put everything on my website. Let's go to it real quick. I'm gonna get over to my website, but what I did is I made a video on YouTube to test. I just made this video to do a test, and I'm gonna share that with you. I think I can get this in here. This here will want to show you this, because what I did is I made a video and I wanted to test just selling our service with just being on the positive with the positive mindset, like only sharing the positive. I didn't even talk about anything that we have to do for them. I just stayed 100% with the positive. And I want to share with you, just show you this video. And if you're not using YouTube, you got to use YouTube because you can get a lot of customers from YouTube, and you can also test some things with YouTube. Let's see this one right here. We go right here. So this video here, 285 views. It might have more than that. Sometimes it's weird, but you can see 100% and 27. And I just said, this is what I titled it. It says, and I'm going to change this around a little bit. I have my thumbnail person changing this, but I just said, step 1 to excellent credit. And in this video, all I did in this video was talked about this. So I shared with them, I shared with them all of the benefits of having good credit. I shared with them what will having excellent credit do for them, the unseen benefits of having excellent credit, how people get special treatment with excellent credit. I talked to them about, and I know that some of you do this if you're with credit repair, you show the differences between if they have bad credit and get a car loan and good credit. I showed an example showing the savings so they could see the money difference. I showed a credit card having high interest or having a 0% interest, showed the difference. I showed a mortgage showing with bad credit, with a high interest rate, and showing with a low interest rate. And I showed the difference in how much they would save with that. Now, I know that if you're in the credit repair, I've seen some of the people's here website, and you do talk about that. But on the flip side of that, if you're doing that, then how are you displaying your service to them? Are you talking too much about your company? Are you not making it different? Because you could say all of this stuff here, and you'll have a good shot by saying this stuff here, trust me. But they're still going to come back to that thought process of, did I see it before? Did I see this before? Let me get back to that screen. They're going to come back to these questions right in here. So even if you put them into that positive, which is a very good thing, you're still going to have to work on having your product or service have something about it that's going to be different than what they've experienced before, seen before, or heard, where somebody talked about it and said it was a bad experience. Because, that could be one of the things that's stopping a lot of people from buying your product or service. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open it up for some questions.